Hello and welcome. Tuesday, usual time. Marian and I are having a really interesting conversation planned, and I'm pass it on to Marian to start. Hello, Marian.
Hello, Corina. Happy to see you here again. And yes, we had an interesting conversation yesterday, isn't it? So, where do I start? Hmm, Perhaps I can tell an experience I had about becoming more clear, even for me, that there is consciousness and that there is consciousness. It's the same word, but and it was in the weekend or last week, I can't remember which day it was. I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and it was quite a time ago that we had a chance to meet, more than 2 years. So yes, we follow each other online, and we have conversations, those written conversations.
Mhm.
And sometimes we meet on Zoom or whatever. But this time there was something else coming up in the conversation. More likely because of her husband was with her, my husband was with me too. So normally we have our conversations only the two of us, which go most likely in other directions than when we are with our pairs. So when she was telling me something about what happened the day before, I could perceive really her barriers up and really in a contracted way, speaking about the consciousness she was choosing at that time.
Mhm.
Interestingly, as in that moment, I could perceive there was her partner next to me, and he went space. He opened up even more his space. He became bigger, which she wasn't aware of. So I mentioned it like, hey, but how would it be to receive now from your partner, even if it isn't the way you expected it or what you were asking of him? So could it be that he was choosing from another consciousness than what you mentioned, what she
Mhm.
mentioned is consciousness? And then in our conversation we went also to that part of, yeah, but what is this? And if I'm correct, if I'm remember it correct, you mentioned it as, yeah, but what if there is a consciousness of this reality and there is true consciousness? And in that second, as you mentioned it, that way I could see, yeah, she was also speaking about consciousness, becoming more conscious, what she's choosing to go with and to learn, quote unquote, judging her partner as he's not into consciousness, but what he was being and showed me was a conscious, that was consciousness for me. That was something like, yeah, there are no reference points, there are no matrix points. As a matter of speaking, he was being the space. And
Yeah.
is it something that is really coming up now in this period of time, that we are confronting what we think consciousness is, which isn't, and that nature is really pushing it ahead to become the consciousness we truly are?
Yeah. I would agree with that. And um, one thing that we talked about when we differentiated between consciousness the definition of consciousness in this reality, which still contains judgment. And it's also viewed that you have to put in a lot of work, in a sense of working on yourself, and that there is an end point to it, a time, a point when you are truly conscious. Now, consciousness from a consciousness perspective, doesn't have any judgment. It includes everything and judges nothing. And it is a never-ending journey.
Yeah.
Because there is always more consciousness possible. Yes, I am conscious right now. And I know that there is so much more possible.
Yeah, and can I ask you a question?
Sure.
It's something, for me, triggers me in this also, because we are conscious, we are always conscious, but not from end point, but from what we are allowing ourselves to be in this moment. So for me, the consciousness I be is another consciousness than you are being. Nevertheless, what is available is way bigger. And the more I expand my consciousness, the more possibilities there are, and the more there become available of consciousness, what it is in truth, as includes everything, judges nothing. And there in that phase, it was yesterday that brought up something different, and it was with my children. And then I became aware also that, oh, wait a minute. Consciousness, yes. But still, there is a lot of conclusion which reflected in, oh, I accept a lot of things, but am I truly in allowance? And that brought me also through that space of, yes, with the consciousness I am now, still there is a lot of judgment, still makes me not being in the true allowance that I could be choosing also. It looks like I am in allowance of a lot, yet I am far more than most people perhaps in acceptance. But it's not through allowance. How do you go with those two within consciousness, the allowance and the acceptance?
What pops for me is that allowance doesn't have a judgment.
No.
Acceptance does. I can judge it, and I can accept at the same time that somebody is that way.
Yeah.
But there is still that element of judgment in it.
Yeah. Which brings me to the consciousness I am is a lot related still with this reality's consciousness.
And, the thing is on the surface, I could say I'm not judging. But that's on the surface. There is, when I'm really honest with myself, then there comes up something that, oh, that was a judgment. That was not an awareness. That was a judgment in my world. And because, we so quickly label a negative, quote unquote, awareness as a judgment, but it could be just awareness, and it is not, there is no judgment attached energetically. So how truly honest are we willing to be with ourselves? And that, I think that is where the challenge lies.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is so true, Karina, as you mentioned, the negative judgment, but isn't it also that what we learned as be positive, then it isn't a judgment, which
that is
keeps
that
us
there
away of
is a
being
negative
brutally
and there is a
honest.
positive judgment. Yes.
Yeah.
And both are limiting.
And both are limiting. That as I was thinking that I was quite a lot more in allowance. And by being brutally honest with myself, detecting as, it's not quite as I think it is. It looks like allowance, but hey, underneath, there is still this and this and this and this and this. So no, it's not allowance. It is from that aspect of the judgment. It is an acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
But I can, if I'm not really brutally honest with myself, I wouldn't bother, because I would decide that I am in allowance, and I would decide that I'm truly consciousness with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, we don't have to make ourselves wrong. In that sense, we really, I know in metaphysics and spirituality, there is a lot of talk about the journey. And that is truly, consciousness is truly a journey where we become, I'm more conscious today than I was yesterday. You are more conscious today than you were yesterday. And it is an evolving journey where we get more and more conscious. And it's not the work, quote unquote, it's the willingness to be honest with oneself and to be aware of where am I truly, what is really going on for me.
Yeah.
Am I glossing over something because I don't want to see it, because it's not fitting the image that I want to put out as being somebody who is conscious? You know, there's so much that goes into this whole process.
There is so much, because what brings up for me is also, and that's from the past when I went through that going into and looking for the answer, and I need to get it clear, what's it about. And yeah, often we can become clear about what was happening, but how many times also it's like that's the end point, as though now I'm clear where I was afraid of, or what the reasons why I act on this or these reactions or whatever it was. But then there is that conclusion, and it is brushed off. Now I'm having it clear, and it is that.
Yeah.
As though that is now the consciousness I can get, even that conclusion I can get out of this, which in truth also isn't, as you said, it's today I'm different, but my consciousness, even after our conversation now in this moment, my consciousness will be different than before we started. And that is also being an allowance, the change that is occurring immediately, without the work, quote unquote.
Now, if we really look at the work, isn't that being honest with oneself and acknowledging where I am, what is going on for me? And then, because if I'm not doing that, change is not even possible.
Yeah, and even this, getting this energy with those words, is that true? Because as I experience it now, with being more brutal honest with myself, I can acknowledge that there is a lot more change when I'm getting out of the way of my head, when I'm getting out of that mental masturbation, when I'm going out of definition and conclusion, etc., then there is change. Because what is the change if I'm getting clear about something and then I define that as the truth that it is? Is that a change?
Good question. Is
I
it?
thought before, but now where I'm at now, I'm saying, oh, no way. No way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but we forget something, Karina. Change is something difficult. Change is hard work. Change requires so much that we even, do we, in general, do we truly know what change is?
I mean, my response to that is we are entrained to require definitions. So we know where we are at.
Yeah.
And we know what we're talking about. And what if change is an energy?
Yeah.
An energy in me changes, an energy in you changes.
Yeah.
And that is change. What if we don't need a definition? What if change is not a linear event?
And that is the space which make it so much more available if we are willing to step out of all those definitions as
Yeah.
See, perceiving the wind, for example, when it's coming from the north and it going to the west. On his trip, the journey of the wind is making, how many changes are there occurring in the journey, and how much is it that the definition is the wind caused this and this and this from there in the west, not from the journey, but they can see it started here and it stopped there, and that is what it did, but not being present with all the changes occurred. So when we still require a definition of required a definition of the change, nevertheless we think occurred, how much do we avoid to receive? How much do we exclude to receive? So much.
Yeah.
And is that what it was about that I could perceive, perhaps, is even when we think we are conscious or we are on our journey with consciousness or to become consciousness, that we exclude so much because of the narrow vision we have, the limitations we put ourselves in.
I want to answer that with a question. Are we truly, truly willing to be the space and the potency that we are? And
Really good question.
how much do we love limitation?
Yeah.
Because in limitation, I can control things. I have a definition. I know how it's supposed to be, and therefore I can control it.
Yeah.
But if I don't have a definition, things are getting out of control. And that is what we have defined as being bad.
Yeah. And it's a really good question. Are we willing to be the space we truly are? As though, how much space do we occupy that we aren't really present with, aware of? So we exclude constantly ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, what if the universe is our playground?
Yeah, I'm more and more open for that and acknowledging as that question is I'm gonna play a little bit more the next days. Is really that space. Am I really truly willing to be? And yes, I can say yes, I'm willing because I know I am willing, but I'm willing to be it as, how would I say it? As there is a knowing the space I am, but being the space as present with it, conscious present with it, and allowing it to be potency that space is, then I will say, I'm not yet really allowing myself to be that. It's when it's possible or it is a contribution for something, for A, B, or C. Yeah, I can be that space. Yeah, I can be that potency. Yeah, I'm willing. But afterwards,
what often comes for me is, how far is it in the end meaning the same? I am willing to, and I'm trying to stand up.
yeah. Yeah.
You either do or don't.
Yeah, that. So when I'm really brutally honest with myself, then I have to say, no, I'm not yet choosing that. I'm not yet willing that, because whatever it is. But there are moments that I'm aware of that I am being it, but not really present, consciously present and acknowledging it as the potency. For what? For what? Yeah. What judgments do I have there? What definitions do I have in place still there? So by playing with that question, am I truly willing to be the space, the true space I am? What can I discover for myself?
Yeah.
When I'm brutally honest with it, and not for judging it, because that's something different also with consciousness, the journey of consciousness. How much still is there judgment coming up, even by becoming aware of something? Even that is judged as going to look for an excuse to not be what you are looking for. We turn ourselves round and around and round and around, and for what?
Good question. Yeah.
For what? Because we are it. Oh yeah, perhaps because I am a woman, and perhaps I would love to be a tree or something. Is that what I'm looking for, or is that what I am playing? Being something different than I'm truly being.
We have the saying that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence.
And what does that even mean? Honestly, because that fence could be completely in another way, another place than for you. So what is
But
that for you?
what is the inherent judgment in that statement?
Yeah.
Are we willing to be aware of that?
And even that, Karina, we are saying the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. And do we choose that other side of the fence? Because when we are looking at it, we can judge it as it's greener, but I'm not going there. When I'm not going there, then I can always keep going on with the wrongness of this side and the rightness of that side. So I can go on and go on and go on my journey to go and have a look at that green side, but never choosing being the green side. Isn't that what we are doing?
I would say we like our hamster wheels.
As we do like collecting the winter fruit as an hamster also. And sometimes when it becomes too heavy, then we explode for a while. Then we will be more conscious, but then we conclude directly so we can go on and on and on and on. Yes, but hey, it's clear for me. I'm choosing different, and yeah, sometimes it's rough, it's hard. Not hard from the hard work, but it's
uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
even that, Karina, with the consciousness I'm willing to be, perhaps you have other experience with that, but the uncomfortable becomes more comfortable, as though, yeah, it is uncomfortable, but I can have more comfort with the uncomfortable, as that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I mean, as we experience discomfort and experience it again and experience it again, we sort of, oh yeah, that's what it is. Okay, no big deal. It eventually gets to that we become comfortable with the discomfort, and nothing right or wrong with that.
Also, that, Karina, that is a huge difference as when I started, as I'm looking for myself, of course. It's when I started that discomfort and uncomfortable was made still so wrong, which made it heavier and intenser. Where now I even don't have a point of view of it. It is this required? What's in it? What is the contribution? What is good about this that I'm not getting? And other questions. So not from making it wrong, also not from making it right. It's okay, it's right that I'm going into this intensity because of that and that and that. It's nothing about that. It is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is.
And how much do we have the notion that if things become uncomfortable, I'm going in the wrong direction and I need to head back to get into the right direction?
Yeah. And if we go further, it's also when I'm making it right, then it's also I'm right. I'm going in the right direction. So it's yeah, whatever way we are doing with it, it's still the polarity. It's still the
and the consciousness doesn't have polarity.
Doesn't have it. No.
There is no polarity.
No, and also this allowance and acceptance. Acceptance is still polarity also, because it's coming from judgment or even expectations.
And isn't that just hit me? Isn't when I accept something, isn't there the fact that I am excluding myself? I'm not part of the equation. Because acceptance goes mostly into becoming a doormat. I have to accept that that person is the way it is and tramples all over me. And therefore, I become the doormat.
Yeah, that's how they say it. But the energy you presented me with this question of acceptance, the separation, excluding ourselves, towards the allowance, is being the space where you are one with everything and with every molecule, so everything is included.
I am part of the equation in allowance.
Yeah. And tapping into the energy is so much more relaxing than acceptance, as I notice it in my body even. Acceptance, still there is contraction. And it has not to do if I make the acceptance right or wrong. It's from the energy of what acceptance is that it's contracting. And when I'm going into the energy of allowance, then, oh, that's interesting. Then as a sudden, I vibrate more with nature immediately. I'm present with nature immediately.
And there's more space.
Yeah.
It's spacious versus contracting.
Yeah, and this brings me to a film I saw, but we will have it on another live. We can speak about that. But it was about this space and this communication underground, being one with everything is, and that is also the allowance, and the allowance that is generating and creating again and again.
Yeah.
So, but we will and can speak in another life about this.
Yeah, but we can say, what we can say is that contribution is part of consciousness. And in order to contribute, don't we require to be one with at least one with what we want to contribute to?
And that includes also the receiving. Yeah, at least one with that we want to contribute to, as we receive also immediately. Yes.
And, because I had a conversation with somebody about me wanting to contribute, and she nailed me on, so you decided that contribution in this case is the correct thing.
Wow, what is this? There is an energy on this.
See, contribution is from knowing that it creates more? Or do I contribute from a should? I should be contributing? Or I need to contribute because I have decided that that will create more? It's not asking the question, will this create more? And be energetically aware, but I decide this will create more because I have decided so.
Which in that energy, for me, there is no receiving. So is that then true? Is it true contribution? As it matches in a way also the difference between that consciousness of this reality and true consciousness, as true contribution and contribution of this reality, where still is judgment and expectations and projections and limitations.
But how easy is it to go there? How quickly do we go there? You know,
and
because
it
we're
took
going
me
to
a
be
while.
conscious.
Exactly.
And consciousness contributes, so I want to contribute, and I'm not asking any questions. Will this actually be something that the other can receive? And therefore, I can receive something, and will it create more?
Yeah, and how often, Karina, when you really contribute, do you exactly know what it is? There, as there is a request of a contribution set as this and this and this and this, is that truly contribution? Because where is the gifting and the receiving in that? As contribution is gifting and receiving
simultaneously.
Simultaneously, there is no separation. It's like how much is from this reality aspect also the contribution, a giving, not a gifting, but a giving, as in a definition, this is what I am giving you, and indirectly or directly, so often is, and now you can give me that back, or I decided that I don't want to receive something back on it. That's also possible, but that's not a gifting and the receiving, because true contribution is a two-way direction.
Yeah.
And I can say for myself, as when I heard more, and it was through Access, speaking about true contribution, I sat there like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? As I was really nailed in this reality with contribution, what it was and what it wasn't, which now opened up so much more possibilities.
Yep.
Yeah. And isn't it also that when we choose to be space with contribution also, there is more ease?
And how much space is in the decided upon contribution?
Yeah. Yeah. And as you mentioned, I believe also as asking a contribution, how much in that is already defined as this is what I need to contribute this to me because I decided this is what I require, as not asking a question. What is the contribution here that may create greater? As I'm deciding it ahead, what is there possible? And can I truly receive? Or can I only receive what I defined as I need to receive?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that matches also within that conversation, though, as the one saying that was what I required to receive, and that what would have been the right contribution to receive, which the other one chose something completely different, which in truth was creating, or the possibilities, far more possibilities, and could have created something greater. But
Yeah.
from the smaller aspect of the small box of definition and limitation of what was defined as the contribution, that what would have been created greater couldn't be received by that.
Yeah.
Wow. So much more to explore still, Karina, with consciousness.
Oh, yeah.
Because truth, how much percentage are we already willing to be embodied consciousness? 1, 2, 3%?
And does it even matter? What just popped for me was, if I'm trying to be conscious, if I have the agenda of being conscious, how conscious am I? And how conscious am I if I am just being? Not necessarily knowing where I contribute, what I contribute, where I'm judging, not judging, all of those things, where I am just everything that I am.
Yeah. So true. So
And not
true.
trying to prove anything with it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm conscious. I'm right. I'm this, I'm that.
Yeah.
How quickly do we go there?
And that is also, this is the energy of joy, everything that makes you spacious, joyful, happy. That is where you are truly being you.
Yeah.
No matter what that is in that moment, it is you. Yeah. I hope this was a contribution for at least one person.
At least 2 people.
At least 2, yeah. I'm one of them.
And me the other.
Yeah, we are already a success.
So, yeah. And we'll talk again next week.
We talk again next week, and we'll see.
Same station, same time.
But you in a different location.
I will be in a different location. Right now, I'm in Kansas, in a suburb of Kansas City, and I have no clue where I will be next week. We'll see.
Surprise us.
In a motel, definitely. Because otherwise I don't have internet.
Okay, so have a nice trip, and yeah, see you next week.
See you
Bye-bye.
next week. Take care.